Hello and welcome to Body Bags. My name is James and I'm your Sunday night reviewer. And this evening I wanted to bring you a review of the classic 1999. That year doesn't really go with the word classic normally, but this is a fantastic film. The 1999 Ravenous. This is one that I think is fairly well known, but it's never talked about enough. It's really strange. I don't know why it's never mentioned. This is one that I got back in the day, actually when it came out in 99 or 2000 on the old VHS. I recently just picked this up because Screen Factory seems to have quite a few titles which are going a lot cheaper than normal, so I grabbed this one. I had to scribble a few notes down, so I apologise, I'm kind of looking between the two. But yeah. So this is like I said, a 1999 Antonia Bird film. And one of the films that drew me to this was, at the time, I was very much into like my Britpop sort of music, along with like metal and rock and just loads of different stuff. But anyway, Blur was one of the bands I was quite into at the time. And Damon Albarn, the lead singer from Blur, did the music for this film, and that created quite a bit of buzz when it came out. And it's kind of quite a unique soundtrack which fits fantastically well for the film. It's kind of a little odd and quirky, just like the film. It fits really well. But anyway, I'll jump into the film. So it's kind of set in 1840s. I think it's the Mexican-American War that's going on. Now, this is loosely based on a true story, the Donner Party, or the Donner something party, I'm not sure what it is now. I will jump into what that is in a little bit, but that's kind of what this film is based on. I will jump back into that in a little bit because I don't want to kind of go into that now, because I will talk about it a little bit later in the review. But so we follow a character of Boyd, which is Guy Pearce. And he's fighting in this war, and basically he's a coward. And there's the scene where his troops are losing, and he decides to lie down and play dead, and he's shunted off and he's buried under all these dead bodies, and all the blood's leaking into his mouth. Bit of a foreshadowing of the film. And yeah, from somewhere he gets courage and strength, and he single-handedly takes over this kind of fort. But when he's being celebrated, like the what would it, the colonel, no, the general, I think, knows what happened. I can't remember quite how he knows, whether he told him or something, but although they're celebrating him, he's calling him a coward. And he sends him off to some remote outpost in the middle of nowhere. I'm not even quite sure. Where is it, like Nevada or something like that? I'm not sure anyway. But he goes to this remote post out in the middle of nowhere where not many people go. And we have Colonel Hart, who's there, which is played by Jeffrey Jones. Just awesome in this. We have Toffler, who's a kind of religious kind of nut in this film. Our religious guy. He's not really religious, he's like quite a quirky, nervous character. And we have Cleves, who's what's his name? David Arquette. He's just smoking weed, taking drugs constantly. We have Knox, who's a drunk, and then we have Reich, who's just this nutter soldier. And anyway, so we have all these people. And Guy Pearce has not been there long, and we have this... Oh, there's also George and Martha. I don't know if the correct term to say. Well, how it's said in this, they're like Native Americans, and he's a scout. George and Martha's his sister, so they're both scouts, I think. So they work at this outpost as well. But Boyd hasn't been there long, and this guy just turns up, Robert Carlyle, and he's kind of like in a bad way, and he tells his story which links to the true story of the Donner Party, that he was moving settlements with a band of people, and they were having trouble crossing, like the terrain. So with these families and that, so they took their horses and carriages and went a slightly quicker route, but it ended up being not so quick, and they got stuck and they couldn't make it, and so they held out in a cave throughout the winter. But their food vastly ran out, and when one of the band died, they decided to eat them. So this goes into cannibalism, and so he's telling of this, and that he's saying that there's this. I can't remember the name now, but there's this soldier that was with him, and he's gone nuts. He's the one that started eating people, and then he started eventually, right, instead of waiting for them to die, he started killing them off. And our character of Calhoun, which is Robert Carlyle, escapes, and where he gets to the outpost. So they're going to send a party out, and George kind of takes Boyd in and into his tent and explains the whole Wendigo kind of eating of flesh gives you strength. Eating human flesh gives you strength. So they kind of got cannibalism and the Wendigo kind of story in here, the whole myth. So anyway, they make their way over, and Calhoun is like really weird. He's all twitchy and spazzing out and stuff like that. And when they get there, they go down. They find the cave, go down a hole, and from the story they count, but there's an extra skeleton, and they're like, that doesn't make sense. And then Calhoun, they kind of realise that he's the kind of crazy soldier, and he's outside and he kills Colonel Hart, Jeffrey Jones, and kills them all basically. And tries to kill Robert Carlyle. He ends up jumping off a cliff and lands in all the undergrowth and all the trees, breaks his leg, but basically he gets stuck. Then the Reich, which is the crazy soldier, kind of lands there somehow as well. They're almost in the same place. It's a bit easy writing, but he dies, and in the end Boyd eats him to stay alive. You see the link here. He's already had that taste at the start, and that kind of did something for him, and he knows the Wendigo story, so he knows if he eats Reich that he'll get stronger and he'll survive. So anyway, he goes back, tells the remaining people there, which is like George and Knox and stuff like that. They don't believe him, but the general turns up. Is like, so they're like, obviously loads of people, like most of the team at the outpost have died, so they got new people to stand in, and who should be there but Calhoun. So it's really interesting. No one believes him, Boyd, what's going on, and they always think he's crazy. But anyway, we know what's going on, and it goes a bit crazy from there. Colonel Hart comes back because Calhoun fed him, so he has an ally, and they want to basically turn the outpost into like a cannibalism outpost. So when people go through, they just pick them off and eat them. Boyd doesn't want to do this, but he's all locked up. That they tie him up and force feed him people to eat because they want to turn him as well, but he doesn't want to. It's like he knows it's wrong, and in the end he convinces Colonel Hart that it's wrong, and he gets Boyd to. I don't want to go too much into this, but basically we have a big fight down at the end, really cool one, between Guy Pearce and Robert Carlyle, so Boyd and Calhoun, and that's kind of where we go, how it all goes. Yeah, so that's kind of the film. I didn't read in through that, didn't have to in the end, but that's how the film goes. Really, really entertaining. It's kind of quirky in how the actors are. Maybe not imagine how it to be, but it's so entertaining, and link it with the music. It's such a cool film. It's one that really needs a little more love, which, I mean, Scream Factory did a really nice release of this one. Well, I just mean general, just talking about it. you know, Antonia Bird. I'm not actually sure what the films they've done, but this one sticks out. Yeah, well, it's a female director. You don't really get many female directors, especially in horror. I'm hoping that Antonia is a woman now. I'm not 100% sure, but it sounds like it with that name. But anyway, highly recommend check this out. This is actually pretty cheap, so I really recommend this release as well. And that's my review for Ravenous. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll speak to you guys next week. Okay, bye bye.